From the air, the Earth's green lung looks like an endless, unspoiled primeval world. But the greed for raw materials has left deep wounds in the Amazon rainforest. Rafaela D'Amico, the youngest national park director in Brazil, has declared war on the plundering.
Sometimes we feel powerless. We compare our struggle with that of guerrillas, but we are optimistic. I think if everyone does their bit, we will succeed. The world needs Amazonia. Try to circle here. Maybe we'll find something. Can you turn left so that we can see better? That's a natural clearing, not a garimpo.
Ana Rafaela is looking for an illegal tin mine, which is reported to be hidden under a canopy of leaves at a river. Apparently, there are at least 50 workers ransacking the national park, an ecological catastrophe. Although she has the exact GPS coordinates of the mine, there's nothing to be seen. However, before she can investigate the anonymous tip-off on the ground, she has to take a picture from the air. The garimpeiros, the mine workers, could be armed.
There's nothing there, no sign of a mine. If anything has been changed down there, it's well hidden under the treetops.
Their fuel is running out. It's starting to rain. They have to call off the search. The aim of the reconnaissance mission is to prepare a large-scale police operation which Ana Rafaela would carry out in the national park in the next 2 weeks. The aim is to drive poachers, wood thieves, and illegal settlers out of the nature reserve. On the way back to the state capital, Porto Velho, the scale of the tragedy of the Amazon rainforest becomes clear. This state alone, Rondônia, has lost around 40% of its forests in the last 10 years. The hidden treasures of the rainforest, gold, tin, precious woods, attract the poorest wretches and the corruptest racketeers.
The destruction is always faster than we are. The deforestation, the mines, these things happen before we can stop them. Sometimes we wonder if we'll ever succeed. We discover an area that's been damaged, and then the next time we go there, it has already become much bigger.
That's why it's so important to investigate every tip-off thoroughly. Even though they didn't find any proof of the suspected illegal tin mine from the air, Ana Rafaela will scour the area on the ground again with her team. CPAM, the air surveillance headquarters in the state capital, Porto Velho. The raids in the rainforest are above all a logistical challenge. Ana Rafaela's team consists of around 20 people, geologists, biologists, environmental police, all young and highly motivated. They will be traveling through the ancient forest for 2 weeks. 2,600 kilometers of rivers and jungle tracks lie ahead of them. Armed federal police accompany them to protect them from violent poachers and wood thieves.
Não, lá não aceita ticket, mas a gente abastece.
But she won't be fully cut off from the headquarters in the 800,000 hectares of the Campos Amazónicos National Park. Ana Rafaela can send out an emergency call at any time via satellite.
When we're traveling on the river instead of by car, this is how we contact the outside world. For example, if we need to get backup from the rest of the team, if we need assistance with an arrest.
Shortly before departure, Ana Rafaela is called to the high security wing. An official who analyzes aerial images has discovered something in the pictures by the Brazilian AWACS airplanes, and he wants to tell her about it.
So, Rafaela, we already discovered deforested areas here last year, but this year we have found new ones.
We already checked the whole area once and closed it off. But if he has cleared more forest, we will have to go back again.
It's 100 new hectares of cleared land on the same farm.
The convoy is on the road for about 300 kilometers before it reaches the area in question. Ever since the 60s, 2 million hectares of forest have been burned or cut down every year. At first, Brazil began conquering the enormous primeval forest in order to raise national living standards. People without land settled in a land without people, built roads, dams, and towns. Now it is 12:05 in Amazonia. Although around 600 illegal wood transporters are seized every year, more than a hectare of forest still dies every hour. Ana Rafaela wants to investigate the illegal logging seen on the satellite image right at the start of the operation.
The area here borders on the national park. One part is inside the park, one outside. This is where the clearing discovered by CIPAM lies. Almost 100 hectares have been cleared this year.
Just recently, there was rainforest here. Now there's a field of destruction. First, the enormous precious wood trees are uprooted, and then the less valuable trees are felled and subsequently burned. This is how the rainforest dies, hectare by hectare. 2 federal police officers stay back at the access road in case the plunderers try to escape. As so often happens when the authorities turn up, the owner isn't there.
Can someone call him for us? We have to talk to him about this area here.
Maybe you want to wait here. He'll be coming for lunch soon.
But it's a while till then.
He won't be away long. He's coming to lunch. I don't go into the forest when I don't know where he is. You can stay or go.
The woman is obviously hoping that the officials can't wait this long. After an hour of waiting in the scorching midday sun, Ana Rafaela decides to check herself. After just a few hundred meters, an older man comes towards them.
Good day. Are you Mr. Joao?
Yes.
Are you the owner of this land?
Yes, I am.
Then let's go a bit further so we can talk over there.
Mr. João, how many chainsaws do you have?
One, because I'm building a fence.
If we find something here that you haven't declared, we will confiscate it.
I only have one chainsaw.
Mr. Joao, let me explain something to you. We know from satellite images that there have been fresh logging activities here on your land. You can swear it's not true, but we have proof. We noticed that 98 hectares have been cleared between August last year and July this year. Did you set this field on fire last year?
Yes.
Were there still big trees at the time?
Yes.
That is unauthorized logging.
My life consists of work and nothing else. I have to work to survive. I have never set foot inside a school. Today, I'm thankful for the fact that I'm already 59 and never turned to crime. My father said to me, "My son, respect the property of others. And this here is yours."
But Mr. Joao, do you have the title deeds for the land?
No, I don't.
Ana Rafaela suspects that Mr. Joao is a so-called orange, a frontman. Since small areas of land can be occupied legally by individuals in Brazil, large cattle breeders often send day laborers ahead to settle smaller plots and deforest the land. Once the land has been cleared, the cattle breeders buy it back from them. This way, bit by bit, they collect huge areas of land for cattle breeding and meat production. As a small farmer, Mr. Joao would have been allowed to clear 20% of his land, but only with a permit from the authorities, and only outside the protected area.
So I will fine you, just for the new area here, the 98 hectares you recently cleared. That's a fine of 490,000 reais. I know, it's a large amount and you cannot pay it.
What you're saying there is unrealistic. We live from the forest. Do you think I would be here if I had 400,000 reais?
The ancient forest that Mr. Joao has cleared will never recover, that much is clear. It is also clear that he will never pay the 180,000 euro fine. He can appeal and delay the proceedings, but for fear of his life, he will never betray the large landowner behind him.
Our biggest problem here in the park, and all over the Amazon, is that we don't know who the men behind this environmental crime are. We only ever find the poor man hired to occupy or clear the land. But we seldom find out who is really behind it, who provides the money, or which politicians support and fund these criminal acts.
Protecting a national park with 800,000 hectares of land is a noble task, in which Ana Rafaela cannot always rely on help from above. Just 1 week before the Campos Amazónicos was declared a nature protection area in 2006, it was divided up, officially in order to grow rice in part of the land. And now there's a road running through the savannah, which is used to smuggle drugs from Colombia to Brazil. The team's next task is to track down illegal wood transport in the area and set up roadblocks. To do so, they have to venture into the lion's den, Guatá. Guatá means ape in the local Indian language. It is the village with the highest concentration of contract killers in the whole of Brazil. Just this morning, a man's head was half blown off with a shotgun because of a dispute about a domestic pig. Guatá is a lawless place, but with a good communication system. The drivers of the wood transporters smelled a rat. No truck is in sight for miles. There's a feeling of lethargy about the place. The residents of Guatá have no time for the conservationists who have suddenly turned up from the capital.
all these nature reserves. Why do they want to leave these large old trees standing? They don't yield a profit. They're no use to anyone. Where are the ancient forests of the Americans and the Germans? They destroyed them. All the money they're now investing in Rondônia in Brazil, they would be better spending reforesting their own land. But why don't they do that? Because it would threaten their own industry, their existence.
The operation in Guatá turned out to be a fruitless expedition.
Renato, what do you think? Should we stay here or go on?
I think the people were warned we were coming. They stopped logging. There are no trucks on the road either. I think the best thing now is to return to the camp.
As soon as Ana Rafaela's troop withdraws, life goes back to normal. The people in Guatá feel that the conservationists curtail their freedom and limit the few opportunities they have to earn a living. Yet Ana Rafaela knows that she is dependent on the help of the population.
Unfortunately, some people don't understand the value of nature. It's so short-sighted. They think only of profit, of making a fast buck for themselves. If these people could only realize that they can profit from the forest without having to damage it, if only they were to use it sustainably, they would see that making a quick profit doesn't solve their problems. The colored areas here represent the various levels of logging in the region. As I said, this here is the critical area between Ribeirão and the park.
They have found shelter with a farmer and are now planning their next steps. Ana Rafaela would now like to check the smaller timber roots, one after another, but the team voices their doubts.
It will be the same as today. When we arrived, there was nothing to see. Everything gone. It will be the same elsewhere, everything hidden. Most of them will have been warned that we're coming.
That's why I suggest splitting up into 2 teams tomorrow so that we can cover a larger area.
The next morning, the demoralizing trip to Guatá is forgotten. Ana Rafaela no longer believes in setting up roadblocks and turning up unexpectedly in villages. Instead, she wants to explore smaller timber routes in the hope of catching thieves red-handed. They know from informers that there is an illegal deforestation in this area. After just a few hundred meters, the first signs appear.
We found petrol canisters and 2-stroke engine oil. You can hear chainsaws. There must be something there. We will approach as quietly as possible to surprise them. The police will go ahead to ensure our safety. They're going in where the petrol is.
We have to go through the thicket there.
They're really going for it. It can't just be one chainsaw. With all that petrol, there are several. If a shot is fired, throw yourselves on the ground. I know it is difficult, but...
Cada árvore dessa que cai, dói na alma.
they come across children who are obviously watching over the supplies. Then, a day laborer.
I just work here.
And the other man? What's his name?
Oziel.
Oziel. Does the land belong to him?
The fazenda up there?
Does the land belong to him? That was really close. Is he the owner of the property?
He lives there. I don't know whether it belongs to him or to his father. I just work for him.
The policemen have found a second man.
Are you the owner of this land?
Do you live up there?
What's your name?
Oziel.
Do you have papers for the land?
No.
A logging permit for here? You neither, huh? Isn't there an area of cleared land up there?
No, none.
Searching for weapons.
There's nothing there.
What we do with you depends on whether you cooperate. You know what you have done is illegal. We will take you with us to the vehicles and then decide what to do.
I cleared the land to have a bit of pasture land. I know that the park begins further back. I won't touch anything there. I'm far away from the park borders. It's very difficult here. What am I supposed to do? We have to live after all. I've built something up here. Now you come, and everything is forbidden.
Oziel has occupied the land for 5 years, but he doesn't have any papers for it. He's not allowed to fell trees without authorization, but he can only keep cattle and feed his family if he has cleared land. In addition, Oziel's land lies in the buffer zone on the edge of the national park. That will increase the fine he can expect dramatically. The people are not interested in the officials from the city and their laws. For Oziel and his wife, all that matters is what they can give their children to eat.
You don't understand. You can't even imagine how we suffer here. We wouldn't deforest the land if it wasn't necessary. If our circumstances in life were different, we wouldn't be here. If it was possible, we would live in the city.
Mais alguma coisa, Renato?
Let me explain. The law you have broken is called clearing or damaging the forest or other protected vegetation. We have to multiply the 53 hectares by 10,000 because we're here in Amazonia. The fine is actually 5,000 per hectare, but it's doubled here because the land borders with a nature reserve. That brings us up to a fine of 530,000 reais. I know that you cannot pay that, but you have the right to defend yourself, and then we'll see what can be done.
I work every day, sometimes for other people too, whatever. But a fine of 500,000. There's no way I can pay that. The land isn't even worth that much. And then the punishment.
Ana Rafaela knows that 200,000 euros is an inconceivable sum for these people. But she also knows that not much of Amazonia will remain if she lets off all the people she feels sorry for.
The law applies to everyone, rich or poor. We must implement the law and do our job for the sake of the forest. These are the moments when we really have to be cold-hearted. We cannot give in to our feelings if we want to save the Amazon rainforest.
When flying over the forest, Ana Rafaela spots illegal landing strips again and again. The secret drug trafficking locations are also registered by the air surveillance teams, but doing anything about them is difficult. By the time the authorities get to the sites, the smugglers have long since disappeared again. Today, they want to investigate a report of one of these landing strips.
There are two roads we have to monitor. One is deserted, with an old landing strip at the end. There is also a deserted house there. We have to check if it's being used. Renato will go there with the federal police.
We will go ahead. You should stay here until we're sure that there is no risk.
When we get close to the target, we'll change positions. There's only one way, so we can't get lost. We just have to stay alert and keep our sights on the others' cars. Then you go ahead, because it could quickly turn into a tricky situation.
The next day, the team splits up. Together with the federal police, Renato will look for the drug dealer's illegal landing strip, which is supposed to be hidden in the savanna of the Campos Amazónicos National Park. They can only monitor the situation in the national park twice a year. The budget doesn't allow for any more. There are hardly any passable roads, so they mostly travel by river. Meanwhile, Ana Rafaela travels up the Rio Madeirinha with the environmental police. They will be on the river for 3 days. Their task is to track illegal fishermen and poachers, put up prohibition signs, and above all else, be alert. When Ana Rafaela took over the national park here a few years ago, the fish stocks of the Rio Madeirinha were severely depleted. Professional fishermen with nets and cooling equipment had been catching anything they could. But since the watercourse system in the park was placed under nature protection, the fishes can spawn again undisturbed. They patrol the river the whole day, but don't see any animals or people. No woodcutters, no poachers, no fishermen, just butterflies. Then, quite unexpectedly, they discover a boat near the riverbank.
Are you armed?
No.
Please take your fishing rod out of the water. We want to speak to you. This is a patrol. I want to know what you have in the boat. Do you have a fishing permit?
No, we don't have a permit.
No permit.
Are you professional fishermen?
No, we're not.
You need a fishing permit to fish with a net.
We can't use nets and reels?
Reels are banned for everyone. Nets are only for professional fishermen.
The law is clear. Law number 30 says that as an amateur, you may fish if you live on the river, but only for your own needs.
We have to look in the bag. Colares, can you please check the cool bags? There are 2 at the front. Empty?
One fish.
Are there more?
What sort of fish is that?
Hake.
Did you catch it here?
Yes.
Should we confiscate their equipment?
Put everything in the other boat, please. The nets, the bags.
A fishing permit would have cost the two men 60 reais, only 20 euros. But it takes 2 days to get to the town where the permits are issued. Just one fish during the whole patrol. For Ana Rafaela, a success.
To have been on the river all day and only meet 2 fishermen and 1 boat is incredible. It means our measures are working, and we have sharply reduced the illegal fishing in the protected area. At least this area is protected.
That's the problem with these signs.
So far, the signs beside the rivers have been well kept. If one fell down, people would put it back up.
When caught, again and again, poachers and wood thieves have claimed that they didn't know they were doing something illegal. That's why Ana Rafaela has ordered signs to be put up on the riverbanks prohibiting entry to the park without a permit. She focuses on educating people, and despite all the setbacks, ensuring the help of the population.
I hope that the park will still exist in many years, and above all, that the inhabitants here understand how important the forest is. I just know that once they realize the significance of this region, it will be much easier to protect Amazonia.
But Ana Rafaela's paradise is in danger. 3 new power plants are planned in the state of Rondônia. Large parts of the national park will have to be flooded in preparation. All Ana Rafaela's attempts to secure concessions in such projects have so far failed.
Essa acho que é uma dos piores desafios que a gente tem, porque foge muito do nosso controle.
That is the worst challenge for us, because it's not up to us. Protecting nature is not a priority for the government. The economy always comes first, along with industry and the country's development. Nature always comes second or third. Taking action in these conditions is very difficult. Nature conservation is not a priority and probably never will be. It's all about politics, and conservationists like me have little say. That is the thankless part of our job, because we rarely get a positive result.
Campos Amazónicos. 15,000 years ago, after the last ice age, an isolated savanna landscape emerged in the middle of the rainforest, with flora and fauna usually only found much further south in the Amazon region. A rainforest couldn't grow on the sandy ground, and of course you can't grow rice here either, as the government apparently once planned to do. The team, led by Renato, is en route here. The area is ideal for the drugs mafia to hide landing strips.
We can't take this road.
First, they find fresh tire tracks. Then, one of the trackers discovers something else.
Come here. Look at this hole.
They've dug a ditch. They've buried something.
Something? Or someone?
Or someone. We don't know.
Should we dig here?
Someone's trampled all over it.
Do we have a shovel? We've seized so many after all. It's just this spot here.
Yes, it's solid here. The soil here is lighter. That's the soil from deeper down, isn't it?
Will you dig?
We didn't bring anything to dig with.
Then we'll have to dig with our hands.
There are holes here.
That's from soil samples.
Exactly.
Yeah, it seems someone has tested the soil here to see what the soil layers are like.
There are geologists in this area. They carry out soil analyses and leave markings. They wanted to drive downstream on the Madeirinha.
Eles iam até subir o rio também, descer o rio,
Mas eles teriam que pedir autorização, né, do parque, não pode ir entrando assim.
Just a soil sample, apparently, absolutely harmless. They won't get much further on the sandy track either. The tire tracks have stopped. But a large wildcat has left fresh prints here.
There are a lot. Look, there are more over there. Do you see?
At about 4 in the afternoon, they call off the search. It doesn't make sense to continue, as they can't reach the landing strip hidden deep in the savannah before darkness sets in. Once again, the conservationists fail because of the sheer size and inaccessibility of their nature reserve. Ana Rafaela and her team cannot withdraw to the safe camp. Out here, they are left to their own devices. During survival training, they learned how to build bridges and pull cars out of mud pools in no time at all. Most of them had to survive 40 days in the jungle with just one shot of ammunition. Just as dusk falls, they reach a sandy bank. Here they will set up their night camp. The environmental police pride themselves on their mastery of the outdoors, but they also know that there are many invisible dangers in the jungle. Ana Rafaela learned everything she knows about the forest from the environmental police, she says. She was trained in marksmanship and can upsile from a helicopter. She copes well in the outdoors, but life on the edge of civilization presents her with other challenges she didn't expect.
It is not easy to survive in Amazonia. If you weren't born and grew up here, it's difficult to adapt to life here. We sacrifice a lot in order to work in Amazonia. Our families, for example. Most of us are still young, and we live very far from our families. We are here out of personal conviction, for love, but we pay a high price. We give up our old lives, yet still we are here to fight for our ideals and the well-being of all.
Pelo bem que é de todos.
And what does one talk about round the campfire, surrounded by pumas, jaguars, and alligators? Stories from the Jungle Book.
You think it's a branch breaking, but it's a wild cat.
Getting ready to jump.
When a jaguar is in pursuit, it sounds like branches breaking. You have to watch out. And if you hear it again in the forest, then it's definitely the jaguar. Imagine what it's like. He sees you, but you don't see him.
And the puma, it doesn't snarl like a jaguar. It is more related to domestic cats or the ocelot than the jaguar. So it doesn't make the same noise. It meows. It meows really quietly, like a faint whistle. You hear it and think it's a big bird, but actually it's a puma.
Lá no Iguaçu uma vez a gente teve que resgatar
The journey back to base and the rest of the team takes 9 hours. 9 hours, in which anyone who can catches up on lost sleep. On the banks, Renata was waiting with some disastrous news. A few days ago, a judge issued a temporary injunction decreeing that people could settle in the national park as of immediately.
One man said the people had promised him a plot of land if he settled on the access road.
They always do that.
He took all his possessions and carried them on his back to the park. They use these people as frontmen, as oranges.
We're devastated. We work so much. We struggle. And then we lose an area again for some minor reason. Now we have to start from the beginning again, without the prospect of success. We're swimming against the tide. As soon as we think we've saved one area, suddenly another big wave comes in and ruins everything again.
The Campos Amazónicos National Park used to be considered the most problematic protected area in the whole of Amazonia. The fact that that is no longer true is purely down to Ana Rafaela's efforts. And that is now at risk. The next morning, they set off to the illegal settlement. The temporary injunction by the judge could trigger a rush of settlers occupying the park in order to fell trees, hunt, and build houses, just like in the gold rush. Ana Rafaela knows this road. It reaches almost 30 kilometers into the park. Just 2 years ago, she made it impassable and had wooden barracks and bridges demolished. But already new wooden huts have sprung up on the side of the road. Just 2 days ago, the federal police were here. They met an unarmed man who was watching over a large quantity of groceries. Now, it's just dogs there. Seems as if it's only just been deserted.
Where's Lillian? Lillian, did you take his shotgun with you yesterday?
No, he didn't have one.
Oh no? Look over there. Cartridges. He hid everything from you.
No, we saw the knife yesterday.
Did you punish him because of anything?
No.
We have to now because he has the weapon. There is no other way.
A shot was fired from the shotgun.
Agora ele vem correndo. Ou não, né?
Eu já tinha feito.
Ela abre aqui. Ela abre, ela quebra.
Espingarda.
Aí, põe o cartucho aí.
É muito copo, muita panela.
Fresh food, cooking utensils, and supplies for at least a dozen people. But they have all vanished without a trace.
Check in the suitcases in case you find anything else.
There's nothing hidden in the nooks and crannies of the hut. Nothing that would reveal the identity of the people. Ana Rafaela suspects that it was forced laborers.
2 anos atrás, a gente chegou aqui na primeira fiscalização.
2 years ago, we did a patrol here and found 13 people who had been kept like slaves. That often happens in Brazil. They had to clear the forest. We took them to the city and imposed a penalty. The conditions were very much like today's. Miserable working conditions, poor tents, not much to eat. It's mostly rich people that are behind it.
Where there are slaves, there are also guards, and they were well armed. The police officers find a lot of knives and ammunition. In the second hut, they discover a particularly insidious shotgun.
A hunting trap. The hunter sets it up on the road and stretches the wire. When the animal stumbles across it, it is triggered and fires. Yes, at us too. The people here have nothing to lose. One more, one less. A human life means nothing here. You have to be twice as careful.
They discover a petrol depot. It is confiscated. Weapons and logging tools are important pieces of evidence for Ana Rafaela. Down the line, they provide tangible proof against the settlers. More and more new huts appear at the end of the road. The forest fires have destroyed large areas. Obviously, the settlers wanted to destroy as much as possible, as quickly as possible. They wanted a fait accompli.
I saw something. I don't know if the heat is to blame, but I saw something moving in the forest.
In this direction? There are people there.
But they don't find anyone. Nature protection in Brazil is and remains a fight against an invisible enemy. Recently, they found a drawing of a blonde woman with a knife in her head on the wall of a sawmill. Ana Rafaela knows who it's supposed to be.
Sometimes I am scared. We don't know who is behind it, who we are taking on, and where it will all lead. We risk a lot because we are dealing with powerful people. They could do something to us, but that is a fear you can't run away from. We cannot allow ourselves to be intimidated. We must fight on, regardless of what happens. We cannot stop what we're doing out of fear.
Even if Ana Rafaela can appeal against the permission given by the judge to settle in the park, the damage already done is irreversible. Which makes it all the more important to protect the areas of the park that are intact and to nip any possible environmental crimes in the bud. Ana Rafaela has to investigate another important lead: the hidden tin mine on the river, which she already looked for by helicopter but didn't find.
The scale of the map isn't right. It is not the same as the one on the ruler. I'll have to convert it.
They are looking for an approach to the river where the mine is thought to be. All of a sudden, a farmer boy appears on a horse. He is accompanied by his father, and he knows the area well. 2 months ago, he observed some people who wanted to go to the river.
You can't use the path.
We looked for it, but we couldn't find it.
Up there, it's all closed off.
Do you know where they wanted to take soil samples?
Back there. They said it was about 3 kilometers away from our fence, but I don't know.
And the footpath? What if we go on foot to the river?
If you want, I'll take you there.
The path obviously hasn't been used for a while. After a long march in the hot sun, they finally reach the river. There it lies, in unspoiled beauty. No water pollution, no torn up ground, no mine in sight, no sign of ore extraction. So far, the unknown intruders have only taken soil samples. Ana Rafaela has a sign put up straight away to make sure it stays that way. For her, this is an important confirmation of her work. At least it's one less battle in the fight for Amazonia, and reason to hope.
A gente acredita que a luta pela Amazônia pode ser ganha sim.
We firmly believe that we will win the fight for Amazonia. It doesn't just depend on us, but also on the government, and on people consuming more responsibly. When they buy products from Amazonia, they support our struggle. We firmly believe that. If not, we would have to give up our work.
Se não acreditasse, não estaria aqui lutando por isso.
And that is something that Ana Rafaela D'Amico will never do. The Amazon rainforest on the Brazilian-Peruvian border. The region of the Ashaninka, the brothers of the people. A new generation of Indians is using unconventional methods to defend itself against those who are exploiting the rainforest. Gangs of woodcutters that are invading their territory illegally.
We used to defend ourselves by bow and arrow, but that doesn't work anymore. Our modern weapon is the internet. This is the only way to ensure safety on our territory.
Importante para nossa utilidade em defesa dos nossos territórios.
Apusha, a village deep in the Brazilian rainforest. It is a home and a refuge at the same time. 400 Ashaninka Indians live here, from catching fish, from hunting, and from whatever the soil yields. The Ashaninka defend their Indian traditions vehemently and with pride. Yet, unlike most Indian tribes, they combine this ancient knowledge with the accomplishments of modern society. It was a long journey before the Ashaninka found their home here. They originally came from Peru. During the Civil War at the end of the 20th century, they got caught in the conflict between the state and the guerrilla organization Shining Path. The Ashaninka were the victims of forced recruitment and massacres. A minority, about 1,000, fled to Brazil. But the fight wasn't over. Illegal gangs of woodcutters invade their territory. The extent of the devastation is only visible from the air. The Indians record what is happening here on video. Activities that the public knows nothing about. In 2001, the situation comes to a head.
A shoe. Those aren't our tracks.
They discover a deserted camp of the wood pirates.
They have cut down all the trees. They're sick. It's hollow. That's why they left it behind.
Não foi ameaçado só uma vez, né? Nesse momento, porque as pessoas
I've been threatened several times.
olhar para quem era a liderança, né?
They were
Quem
looking
era
for
que
the
estava
ringleaders.
conduzindo isso.
The attacks began when we tried to prevent the logging.
A ser massacrado quando nós começamos a impedir a madeira, né?
The woodcutters felt their livelihood was threatened, as if we were taking something away from them.
Economicamente, que nós estava tirando da vida deles. E uma delas assim que marcou aonde minha mãe.
Once they wanted to kill me, when my brother and mother were with me.
Pessoas quererem matar eu diretamente. Muitas pessoas com metralhadoras.
Many people with machine guns, revolvers and knives.
Pesado, faca, né?
This moment has engraved itself on my memory.
Assim que marcou muito, né?
A mahogany tree gets up to 90,000 euros on the international wood market. A human life isn't worth much in comparison.
E eu tranquilamente falando sobre, né?
On the outside, I stayed calm and talked to them about life.
O que as pessoas estavam ali fazendo, né?
They're only interested in the wood, but we are striving for a new way of thinking, for respect between the peoples, and to protect our way of life.
A proteção de nossas vidas.
Benki's composure saved his life. But a little while later, the tribe learns that wood pirates are on the march again. It's the year 2001. At the time, they are the first Indians with internet access, a pilot project of a Brazilian NGO.
For the first time, we were able to mobilize them all, the courts, the public prosecutors, and the federal government.
The authorities respond immediately and send in the military. A unit from the Brazilian Air Force is ordered to arrest the woodcutters. The soldiers comb the forest for culprits. They arrest a good dozen of the Peruvian wood pirates. The raid is successful and changes the lives of the Ashaninka. Now they want more. They want all Amazon Indians to be given internet access.
Ever since then, we know that the internet can save us from attacks. It is an important means of defending our indigenous population. With this large network, everyone finds out what is happening on our sacred earth. We can even use photos. The power of the internet really helps us here, so deep in the jungle.
É muito útil para o meio dessa floresta.
The cocoa fruits are ripe at last. It's not just children who like the taste.
Esse aqui é o macaco que come, né?
The monkeys have already been at them. When there are fruits, everyone wants some, the animals and the people. But there are enough for all.
Quando tem com sobra, dá para todo mundo, né?
To this day, the Ashaninka people live from what the rainforest provides. They hand down their knowledge from generation to generation. On Sundays, when the schools are closed, the children learn how to reforest the cleared areas. Tree for tree, they discover the diversity of the tropical rainforest. Shaman Moses shows them where the plants grow best. Moises' brother Benki shows the young Indians how to use the ancient forest with traditional methods without destroying it.
Many white people say, there is so much rainforest. And what do? They simply cut it down. But we plant additional trees for timber.
In order to extract color from the bark for clothing.
Or to make medicine from the trees. Every tree we grow has a specific purpose. Take care with the roots.
If the tree is big, I will build myself a canoe from it.
Leaves, roots, bark, the fruits, the resin, the wood. The Indians use all of the tree for food, timber, or medicine.
When I am big, I can climb up it.
Exactly. In 30 years, the tree will be really big too. I explained to the children that we build with them, with our own trees, so that we don't have to fell the rainforest trees.
A seer once prophesied that the future of the Ashaninka would rest on the shoulders of the chief's sons, Benki and Moises. So the father decided that one would study forestry and the other would be trained as a shaman. The brothers would unite modern and traditional knowledge and use it to preserve the natural surroundings.
Today, the Indians are fervent conservationists because of the destruction of the environment. They are the ones that fight for the environment, the forest, the animals, the ground, and the river on a daily basis.
The earth is alive. Where the forest is intact, we have life. For the Indians, wealth means having a forest and soil.
If it weren't for the Indios here, even more of our planet would have been devoured.
What we are trying to do is to protect our way of life for the coming generation.
It takes the Ashaninka 3 hours to reach the harbor Marechal Taumaturgo from Apusha. Despite their isolation, they know how to communicate their goals with modern tools, unlike many indigenous peoples. This is how they managed to gain sponsors for their project, the ancient forest school in Marechal Taumaturgo, which is now known far beyond the borders of Brazil.
There's fire, and where there's fire, there's smoke. This contains carbon dioxide. Where's the smoke going? Where's it going? Up or down? It's going up. This causes the greenhouse effect. And it's getting worse all the time because so much CO2 is being released into the atmosphere.
The Amazon rainforest is the largest carbon sink in the world. Since the 1960s, 2 million hectares of jungle have been burned down every year, a catastrophe for nature, as well as for the climate. Amazonia is home to 20% of the world's fauna, over 50,000 known animal species, and a fifth of the Earth's freshwater reserves. The Ashaninka see themselves as part of the rainforest, just like the plants and animals. Shamanism plays a large role in the way they view the world. Shamans feel so closely connected to nature that they believe they can communicate with animals.
Na cabeça, né, é onde fica todo o comando do corpo da gente.
One day, I went into the forest. When I was deep in the jungle, a jaguar appeared before me. Now the time has come, I thought. Today I will fight a jaguar.
Moises drew his weapon. The jaguar ducked. But he said to him, "Don't be scared. I won't hurt you." The jaguar turned round and disappeared, but he came back 3 times that day. The Ashaninka worship the gods of the forest. A drink from one of the ancient forest's lianas enables the shamans to make contact with them. Moises is out gathering these plants.
Isso daqui é a coroa e ela serve para a gente cozinhar com ayahuasca.
This is the horua plant.
Para aprender a fazer.
We use it to make the ayahuasca drink. It enables us to discover other ancient forest medicines and shows us how we can heal with plants. The horua is the brother of the ayahuasca liana. God created both the plants and sent them to us so that they would teach us the healing power of the rainforest.
The Ashaninka believe that ayahuasca imparts knowledge and skills to them, a plant of the gods that gives supernatural powers. The drink they brew from the liana allows them to make contact with the dead and the forest spirits. The Ashaninka experience their faith in a particularly intense way while under the influence of ayahuasca.
Deus, quando subiu para a terra, que vivia com.
When the god Pawa lived on earth and wanted to ascend into heaven, the Ashaninka asked him, "Who will teach us how to live on the earth now?
Quem é que vai continuar ensinando como viver na terra?
Who will heal us when we are sick?"
Quando estiver doente.
The god answered that we would never be alone.
Ele está sempre presente.
A strict diet, abstinence, and little sleep. This is how Moises became a shaman. For a whole year he lived in the jungle and fed himself on plants and roots. He knows the riches of the rainforest like no other.
Quando ele pegou uma filha
The god had taken one of his daughters, blew breath on her head, and turned her into a plant, the horua. Then he took a son, blew on him, and changed him into the liana.
In order to protect and spread this ancient Indian knowledge, Benki, the shaman's brother, founded the Ancient Forest School. First and foremost, it is a means of educating people about the environment. It is also about sustainability. How does one use the rainforest without destroying it?
Our work has a history, a life, and we want to show it to you.
Benki sees himself as a mediator between the modern and the Indian world. His dream is to see the other indigenous communities become as independent as the Ashaninka are today. Their village, Apusha, is considered a model project in Brazil.
There are many more bees than there were last year. They're really excited. I can tell it will be good honey.
That looks very lush.
Fresh honey from their own beehive. All the families in the village grow, hunt, or collect almost everything they need for their own survival. They are, for all practical purposes, self-sufficient.
Come on. Open your mouth.
Our family used to be dependent on the large landowners. The whites had managed to drive us all in different directions. We were scattered all over. It was impossible to stay a community. Luckily, we managed to come back together.
The Ashaninka believe that the history of their people lives on in each and every one of them. Since the middle of the 1980s, they have been taking part in the fight for indigenous rights. This is what makes the rainforest so precious to them.
If we were to speak of the value that the forest has, it is valuable because it has no value. It is greater than everything else. And that is the difference to those who steal valuable minerals and wood. For them, the forest has a value. For example, the profit they are hoping for. It has an exact price for them.
A mixture of cocoa plants and herbs to purify the soul. Moises prepares for a long night with ayahuasca. The soul travels through time during this ceremony, they say. Moises believes he encounters spirits, and he wants to look into the future.
You hear the voice of the god Power. He teaches us everything. He reaches everywhere, like the wind. Whether it's a good or a bad place, he is there. He knows every corner. There's this fashionable expression. The rainforest is the Earth's lungs. What does the Earth's lungs mean? Look at your lungs. Where would your body be if we took away your lungs? That's what it's about. That's what we're fighting for.
Rio de Janeiro, at the other end of Brazil. The Ashaninka found allies here. Businessman João Fortes pulled out of his family's business 2 decades ago. The real estate corporation João Fortes is an old and powerful family business.
My name is also the name of my father and of a large company. I always found it hard to accept this name as a reflection of my own identity. It was as if I was one person and my name another.
Since then, he has been involved in promoting the rights of the indigenous peoples, from his own pocket if need be.
I could have done something different with the inheritance from my dad. Buy a bigger house, a better car, a boat. Buy. But what do I leave behind for my children? The best thing to bequeath them is the integrity of my work.
He wants to be a role model and believes that the fight for a better climate cannot be left in the hands of the politicians. 56 million people in the cities. The exhaust fumes from the ever-increasing volume of traffic compound the effect of the greenhouse gases. a quarter of Brazilians have no access to clean drinking water. All this provided the impetus for the first major environmental summit in Rio in 1992. One of those who spearheaded the movement was businessman João Fortes.
Eu acho que só com a questão do meu trabalho na questão ambiental.
This is how I found my purpose in life. With the involvement in environmental protection, the indigenous peoples, and the forest, I was doing something different. Back then, it was pioneering work.
In 2003, João Fortes founded Rede Povos da Floresta, a network aimed at protecting the habitat of the ancient forest peoples against raw materials piracy. It currently has a project to connect 30 Indian villages deep in the jungle to the internet, like the Ashaninka. That requires good logistics.
We want to link up Indian communities, which are separated by days of traveling. Many feel isolated in the rainforest. When we connect them to each other, it makes them stronger.
Nowadays, the brothers Moises and Benki hold presentations on the struggle of the Ashaninka outside Brazil too. One reason for their cosmopolitan outlook may be their mother, Dona Pichi, a white woman. The daughter of a rubber tapper, she fell in love with an Ashaninka chief and followed him to his village.
His father asked for my hand in marriage. My dad consented, but my mother didn't want to. But I still married him. She said she had never seen a white woman marry an Indio. She feared he might leave me later, not like me anymore, or be ashamed of me. But to this day, that never happened, thank God. We've been married for 43 years now.
She had always warned the Ashaninka about the exploitation by the large landowners. People often resented her for this.
My wish was to see them free. Free from patrons, free from violence. Then they started to fight back.
Her sons say they understand how Brazilians think because of Dona Pichi. That's why they work so well with them now. Back in Rio. For the network of ancient forest communities, things are entering a crucial stage. The internet equipment for the Indians is being sent in the direction of the Amazon.
The people from Rio are ready, and the people with the solar collectors from Sao Paulo will be arriving on the same day.
Climate protection is no longer a national issue. After all, environmental pollution doesn't stop at the border.
This is a global task we are addressing. A government cannot do it alone. Our network connects everyone. The rainforest with the cities, the forest peoples in South America with each other, and with the whole world.
The material they dispatch to the Amazon for 30 new internet points deep in the rainforest weighs no less than 9 tons. In a small firm, the last computers are packed up. All that's left to do now is charter the freight plane.
Excellent, thanks.
That worked out too. The convoy can begin. first stage. The internet equipment leaves Rio de Janeiro by truck and plane. The material covers at least 4,500 kilometers on its way to the jungle villages. Three days later, the equipment arrives in the middle of the rainforest. It then continues its journey on sand tracks and on the river. The first village that Benki and Moises want to connect to the internet lies in the Contanava region, close to the Peruvian border. It is considered very dangerous here. Illegal gangs of woodcutters regularly invade the area, cutting swaths and wood roots for large firms from Peru. Fishermen tell how a nearby area has just been cleared for a landing strip. Benki and Moises check out the situation. At least 1 square kilometer of rainforest has just been slashed and burned here.
Everything is disappearing. Our water, our forest, our fishes. How are we supposed to survive?
Angry, the brothers continue their journey. Their discovery is a major setback for their work. Once they have set up their camp for the night, they consider how they might respond to the attack by the woodcutters.
What should we do with these people who are destroying the forest and the trees? It is sad.
I
am very angry. This is no game. The exploitation of the rainforest by the Peruvians is a serious problem. Our brothers in Peru are being killed, or they have to flee to Brazil, where they take over our habitat. And that creates new conflicts.
The woodcutters pollute our rivers, and I wonder if our children will ever grow to be as old as us. Or is it all just going to get worse? When I thought about it, I had to cry.
We have to know where they are setting up landing strips on this side of the border, because it means drug sales will increase there, and the black market will grow.
We will fight to the end for the land that feeds us. That is our life. And not just for us, for all the people on this planet.
When the men are on the road, the village Apusha belongs solely to the women. Like Dora, Moises and Benki's sister, the women live very independent lives and keep old Indian traditions alive.
In our communities, the women choose their husbands. When I was 20, I chose my husband. I chose an Indian so that I could stay here in the village. Since my mother is white, I wanted my children to be purer Ashaninka. I was also in love with him.
At the age of 20, Dora had her first child. Now she has 4. The women here in the village have up to 18 children.
Girls usually get married at the age of 12. Sometimes the girls get pregnant for the first time at 15 or 16, but you have to be married already. When the contractions begin, we go into the forest. We give birth there alone. The birth is usually very quick. Someone rarely suffers for 2 days.
Medicine from plants makes the births so easy. Wearing self-woven tunics, making pearl jewelry, such traditions were in danger of being forgotten. Donna Pichi encouraged the Indians to keep them alive. When she moved here, many Ashaninka had already adapted their living habits to those of the white people.
Many people only dressed in clothes that white people brought with them. I said to them, they should never neglect their own culture. Look at me. I live here with you, but that doesn't mean I change who I am. I am me, and you have to be you. We should respect each other. Don't change the way you dress. Don't change your language.
Yet not all the Ashaninka's recollections of the whites' intervention are bad. Once a woman brought twins into the world. As is usual with the Ashaninka, the mother wanted to kill the weaker child because she couldn't bring up both. Until the patron talked her round.
He said, they are both people. If you raise them, they will both help you a lot later. She thought about it for a whole night and then decided to keep both.
Donna Pichi's husband, Antonio, the father of Moises and Benki, was also once the weaker of two twins and survived thanks to the advice of a white man. Today, he is the chief of the Ashaninka. The chief's sons hurry to reach the village of the Contanawa. The deforestation for the illegal airport could have been prevented. The Contanawa could have called for help by email. Now, it seems even more important that as many rainforest communities as possible get access to the internet. The village Sechi Estrella lies deep in the jungle. Getting access to the internet will fundamentally change its contact with the outside world. The village elders and a few young people are already waiting. They don't get visitors very often here. It is midday. The sap of an ancient forest plant offers protection from the scorching sun. The indigenous peoples of the Amazon rainforest have so far lived largely isolated from each other. All that will now change.
For the first time, we are connecting the villages in Amazonia to each other. And that doesn't merely give us internet access. If we join together, we can also revive our shared culture. That is very important for us.
In the rainforest, the internet is only used for self-defense. There is barely any demand for surfing or shopping here. In each village, just one person is trained in how to use the computer. A few last things, and then there it is, the internet. The 35-year-old Z has never seen a computer in his life.
Okay, Zay. I'll show you now how the internet works here in the middle of the forest.
Você pega esse negócio aqui, né? Agora tá conseguindo aqui, tá com alguma coisa aqui. Primeiro pega esse mouse.
Take the mouse.
Pega esse aqui. Tá igual agora, procura com aquela setinha.
That's the arrow here.
Cadê a seta?
Where is the arrow now?
Bota ela lá
Move
em
it up
cima.
the screen.
Mexe aqui assim, mexe tua mão assim, vai levando assim. Aí, bota
Then
aqui.
like that.
Aí, aperta dessa direita.
And now click on the right.
Da direita aqui, aperta. Aperta aquele lado aqui, ó. Opa, aí não. Aí tem que apertar ele aí fora. Mas não é assim, ele não
One
tá
after the
conseguindo,
other.
você quer mexer aqui na coisa.
You just need practice.
Assim, ó.
After their work is done, they stay in the village for a while. Benki sings the song of the hummingbird. It was written for him when he was a little boy.
Lua branca chegou na hora. Minha mamãe soberana, minha floresta de joia.
Então vem cantar só um pedaço.
A woman is already waiting in front of Moises's house back home in Apusha. Her baby has had a stomachache for days and isn't keeping food down. She hopes Shaman Moises will heal it. The Ashaninka believe that human beings are made up of three parts: the body, the spirit, and something in between to balance them. Moises is an anti-aviari, a healer who treats the body only.
É tabaco natural, né, daquela região.
I take tobacco leaves from the region and mix them with other plants.
Isso aí é tipo de reza que a gente faz, né?
The treatment is a sort of prayer.
Isso aí, a fumaça dele.
The tobacco smoke drives out the evil spirit that has taken hold of the child.
Tá jogando fora o mal que tá ali na criança.
Moises blows smoke on the areas where the spirit could have penetrated the body.
Na cabeça, né, onde fica.
All the controls for our body are in the head. But there are also areas in the feet which control the body, and sometimes the illness gets in through the feet. It then sits in the stomach. You have to remove it from there and clean everything.
The baby's doing better, but it is not yet fully recovered. They are instructed to return the next day. Shaman Moises sees plants as powerful living things. When he paints, the spirits of the primeval forest come to life.
As imagens chegam.
The pictures appear like thoughts. I look and they come.
E elas aparecem.
Most of the pictures I paint appear to me in the clouds.
Pinto assim, ela aparece nas nuvens, né? Como
This bird is like a messenger that brings faraway things to you.
E traz para perto.
For Moises, this mythical world is perfectly real.
Bom, essa onça aqui
This jaguar here is a white jaguar that lives in heaven. His name in our language is Bogrumain.
Bogrumain. Mas nós não chama ela muito pelo nome dela, que é para
But we don't say his name often to make sure he doesn't hear it. Otherwise, he would maybe come to Earth to find out what we want from him. And when he comes, he eats everything.
É uma onça que flecha não mata, nada fere ela.
You can't kill this jaguar with arrows.
Só os pajé cuidam dela.
He is very dangerous. The shamans make sure he doesn't come nearer.
À distância.
For me, painting is like a dream. I dream it and do it. This peace is very good. It strengthens the spirit and the lust for life.
Mostra muita coisa boa para a mente da gente, né?
The Indians feel completely at one with the rainforest. They say if they were to lose the rainforest, they wouldn't be Indians anymore. That's why it's much more than just work for the Ashaninka. They want to show how people can contribute to protecting the Earth's climate with concrete examples. They reforest areas that have been slashed and burned. 3 hectares of land have already been replanted with rainforest trees. The reforestation was funded by a concert by the British rock band The Police. A modern deal, environmental gain for environmental damage, over a distance of 4,000 kilometers. The idea came from millionaire João Fortes. The band's transatlantic flights, the electricity for the show, the traveling costs of the audience, all these activities caused harmful CO2 emissions. It is possible to measure exactly how much. The NGO in Rio collects the data required. The carbon footprint of the live concert, 640 tons of CO2. With the money that the band donated, the Ashaninka were able to plant as many trees as needed to compensate for the damage caused to the climate.
If every company saw the need to continuously offset their own emissions, even if it was only for certain events, this would be an effective and lasting form of climate protection.
The system of reforesting the rainforest as a way of offsetting CO2 emissions is finding avid support among more and more Brazilian companies. At Fashion Rio, the designer label Cantao neutralized its fashion show's impact on the climate. Press spokesman Richard Yates.
É marketing também, assim, mas tem que ser verdadeiro, né? Tem que fazer com
It's marketing too, but it has to be a genuine commitment.
Então, acho que já é obrigação.
I see it as an obligation.
Que isso traz já
The positive effect on the image is pretty much secondary. It's about the role you have in the world.
Eu digo, lógico, né? Não em relação ao seu papel no mundo, né?
Face painting has a deep significance for the Ashaninka. Benki, his father, and his son are decorating themselves with symbols of forest animals, jaguars, macaws, and snakes, in preparation of the biggest festival of the year.
I'm getting all dressed up.
Cada desenho desses simboliza o que você está vivendo naquele momento.
Every symbol reflects how you feel at the moment.
Tem uma ligação do nosso espírito porque
when we paint ourselves, we unveil our true beauty. You should feel a person's spirit.
Uma atração que faz, né, outras pessoas, né, sentir, né, o espírito da outra. O aningago tá gosto de
I am a very powerful warrior. That's why I'm painting myself as a warrior. The symbols show the enemy my courage. I liked how my father painted his face. I thought, oh, now he looks more handsome than me. That's why I chose another symbol with another spirit. Then he'll think I'm more handsome.
Their face painting is also a symbolic invitation to all the inhabitants of the ancient forest to join the Ashaninka's celebrations. The fashion show by Cantao is beginning at Fashion Rio. Getting the models there and transporting the collection consumes thousands of kilowatt-hours of electricity. The fashion label's show causes 10 tons of CO2. 800 square meters of rainforest will be planted to compensate for them.
I'm pleased that my job is so genuinely and sincerely devoted to environmental protection. I'm proud to continue on this path. When you see how the idea is spreading and how the customers respond to it, it's incredible.
In Rio, they have recognized the need to get involved in order to save the rainforest. The 24th of June, the biggest day of celebrations for the Ashaninka. It is the anniversary of the day the Indians got their territory back from the Brazilian state after 250 years.
The beat of the drum is so strong, as if it were a heartbeat. When everyone beats at the same time, it is so strong that some women start crying, and some men too. It conjures up special power.
For 3 days and 3 nights, the Ashaninka celebrate what they have achieved in the last few decades. They have secured their territory, preserved their cultural identity, and connected to the modern world.
Money doesn't get us into heaven. When we die, we don't take it with us. We must fight for our food, our water, our forest. Everything God gave us. Then you have an honest life. When you die, you live on in every tree, every river, in each moment that you lived. If everyone thought that way, our planet would be a very different place.
Moises and Benki are on their way again. Dozens of Indian villages will be connected to the internet this year. This strengthens the indigenous communities and their traditions. It allows them to fight for the rainforest with modern weapons and for a better climate on Earth.